Who said you can't go home? Real Estate Exposed, brought to you by Signature Real Estate. Real Estate Exposed is all about helping homeowners and those who would like to be homeowners and those who would like to get into real estate.
Okay. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining Real Estate Exposed, where we talk about real estate. My name is Shelly Panzarella with Prosperity Lending. I am the branch manager, normally in with my co-host Brandon Roberts, the president of LVR, but him and the whole entourage of Signature, minus the big boss, Todd Barton, is the guy they left behind to actually run the show, is in what, DC? Are they in Washington?
Yeah, Washington, DC.
What are they doing out there?
Isn't it Inman?
No, that was me.
Yeah, that was when you went. They are
some policy
just
stuff,
like the yearly big NAR, National Association of Realtor hoopla. I mean, there's like all kinds of stuff happening.
Got it. And so everybody but yourself is there.
Yeah, so everybody, all of the other brokers here are either a member of a national committee, which would be meeting during this time, or they are somehow tied into the leadership at the association here. Brandon's the president. Yeah. Chris is one of the board of directors. So yeah, everybody. Tom's the president of
state, or will be. Yeah.
Incoming.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So when are you taking a position?
I'm going to stay right here and
be
available for whatever needs to happen
for these shows. So for those of you who don't know, this is Todd Single D. I like to call you Single D Barton, who is the running broker, or the only broker today for Signature Real Estate Group. But you are managing broker here in the Green Valley office, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been here 2.5 years now, 2 years now, something like that.
2.5 years. And how long have you been in the industry?
2005. So I don't know, you can do that math. Is that like 17 years or something like that?
Something like that. Beta's the MBA.
Do the math. 2005. That's 17 years, right?
He's like, yeah. So wow. So we can chat a little bit about, because we got an action-packed show today. We're going to talk. Well, one, I want to congratulate you because you did make the leader luncheon.
I did
for Q1, right? Yeah, Congratulations. Now, is that you or is that your team?
No, that's me.
You individually, and you manage a broker, and you take care of the whole corporate office when the broker's out of the town.
Yeah,
when the cats are away. When the cats are away, Todd Barton has to actually.
The mice have to play.
Yeah, that's very awesome. So, action pack. We'll go through all of that. We're going to talk a little bit about the market. Do you have market updates? Because Brandon always forgets them.
What do you want? I do have them. Specifically, what do you guys want to talk about?
Well, he does tell us. We've come through April, right? So.
Yeah. So you want to know like current statistics of like sold homes and all that
what maybe average median sales prices. I'll go into where our interest rates are. They are high. We'll actually talk a little bit about that today. Not too specific.
They're just high.
Yeah, they're not high. We're in the 5.5 to 6 range if you haven't known. Actually, I had a client or a potential client. I don't know that they're going to look forward to purchasing now. They called in to do a pre-approval, and when I quoted them the rate, he's like, "What happened to the 2%?" And I'm like, "What rock have you been under?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm like, have you talked to your, he's like, "Well, my realtor never said anything." I'm like, "Well, this is why they communicate you with the lender who's going to share this with you, but it's been all over the news that interest rates have gone up." And so Fed is talking today. Sorry, I didn't get you prepared for your stats.
2:30.
Today at 2:30. What do you think about that? So they're going to increase the short-term rates.
Well, I think what they want to know is what's that going to do to housing rates? Like short-term rates don't always affect housing rates at a super high level. I mean, it's that trickle-down effect, of course, but
yeah.
What do you think that does? Are we still at 5.5 at the end of the day, or are we going to be closer to 5.5 and 6 now?
We are trending in that upper range. I think it's going to take a little while for kind of the emotions to subside. I think we've we've gotten to 5.5 because a lot of emotions have been nervous about what the Fed would do with respect to the rate increase. And if they come out, which they're going to be coming out, we're filming this on Wednesday. So when it airs on Friday, they're coming out on Wednesday. We'll already know what that's going to look like. But even today, as we're filming this, it's been up and down. I still see us to be very volatile. I feel like we're going to head into closer to the 6, and then we'll start to taper back down.
That's what I was going to say. When do we kind of hit the top, and when does reality kick in and we start coming kind of back down a little bit? I mean, the government typically uses interest rates to control inflation, right?
Well, I think that would be the part when they start to feel like we have a control on inflation, because we do rise when inflation goes up. That's, like you said, that's the way that they curb some of the spending, right? But I do think that also becomes the issue of like recession, or concern around recession, and then the housing market becomes a concern for all of our legislation, and then stuff has to happen, right? The government has to come in and step in to change things. I think because beginning of the year we were at the 3s, low 3s for interest rates. And then all the speculation about they got to increase inflation, and we're here today. And so I think leading into that, they went full throttle on mortgage rates, knowing that this is going to come.
Well, didn't they announce early on this year or end of last year that they intended to raise the rate at least 3 times this year?
Yes.
And is this the first actual raise?
No, this will be
the second one, right?
This is the second. Yeah. So the first one was done in March. So that was a quarter, which did anybody feel that?
No.
It
made zero effect.
Exactly.
Now, did anybody feel it? Probably.
Yeah.
But not in our world, not in the real estate business.
Yeah.
It had zero effect on the real estate business.
Correct. Yeah. And so today, this is actually, if they go the 0.5%, which they're saying that they're going to do, that would actually be the first time that the Fed has increased 50 bips in over 20 years.
What's a BIP?
50 basis points.
Got it.
BIP.
I mean, I knew what you meant, but I wasn't sure.
Sorry for myself out there also, because I don't know necessarily what BPS stands for.
Bips.
Basis points. So I think that everything is emotional, right, when it comes to stocks and just people, human beings.
Well, yeah, and so let me ask you another question. This is totally. Do you think the whole Elon Musk Twitter thing is having any effect on? Like, my concern with the interest rate raise being 0.5 point instead of 1/4 point, that's my concern. Why are they doubling what they did just 2 months ago?
I think they knew they had to do this last year. Because remember, we went artificially low. Like, they dropped everything when the pandemic shut us down, and everybody freaked out and panicked in 2020 that this was going to be another gigantic housing issue, and so they did everything to try to curb that. But
remind me, before the pandemic, so what, March of 2019?
Oh yeah, 2019.
Right? What was the interest rate then, and where was it going?
We were at the 5.5s.
And where was it going?
We were we started at 3.5 in 2018, and by the time we got into the end of 2019, we're in the 5s, mid 5s.
And we equated that because the election was coming up.
Yeah,
right?
that's
that
right.
Was this is typically what happens when an election is coming, is they start to, depending on what side of the aisle you sit on, right? It's a little political, but
which we're not allowed to do that on this show.
Yeah, no, we're not. I'm just saying that's kind of what we equated the raise of the interest rate to. And I think it's important to point out that even 2 years ago, 2019, no, that's 3 years ago now. 20, 21, 22. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 3 years. Wow.
Math.
5.5 wasn't a bad number.
No, it was still lower. I got in at like the 7s. So I just think that's kind of where we're at right now with the interest rates. And I think a lot of our clients today are needing to settle into that number. Like, are you seeing a reduction in buyers come to the market, or?
I will say that we've had some buyers fall out because what they can now qualify for isn't something they're willing to live in.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
It does.
Based on the interest rate and what their payment's going to be, how much home they can buy, how much money they can spend or get loaned to them, doesn't buy them the house in today's market that they're willing to live in.
What about rent, though? Rents are going up too, right?
Yes. Horribly. Now, I read something recently from a property manager here in Las Vegas that I respect and have known for many years, and his assessment currently was that rentals are sitting on the market a little bit longer.
Really?
They're not quite moving as fast as they were moving 2 months ago. So I was really surprised to read that, and I haven't had any time to kind of go and actually do any research on that. But it might make a little bit of sense because there's a bunch of cash buyers in town that's their only intention is they're buying to rent. They're going to be buying holds, and they're going to hold them for however many years until they need to sell them. So I think the rental market is becoming harder to qualify for.
So even in the rental market, you have to be able to qualify like you would, like you're buying a house, or
essentially. I mean, you've got to have a decent credit score. Somebody called the other day and they have a 440 credit score, and they said, I can't find a rental. And I was like, yeah, have you thought about apartments? Because everybody, there's been such a low inventory, I guess, of rentals, and so many people needing them. There's still tons of people moving here, right? We're still getting and we just don't have the houses. We don't have enough housing being built, and we don't have enough people leaving to kind of equal that out. So we have a shortage of housing in the valley, and
shortage not only in purchasing but also for renting.
Yeah. So people who are coming here, some people will move to Vegas and they want to rent for a year and kind of learn the town, learn the city, figure out where they want to live before they actually purchase. But so there's just not a lot of rentals out there. Although he says they're sitting a little bit longer now, and that's probably because the same reason houses that are for sale are sitting is their price too high.
Right now. Well, that's actually, so I was reading an article Redfin published April 25th. Home buyer competition drops for the first time in 6 months amid surge in mortgage rates and home prices. So are you seeing a stall with respect to, we've had a huge competitive market where it's like, and maybe it's 30 offers at the table and now it's 25 or 20. What are you seeing as far as that?
Yeah, so it's definitely, so there aren't as many offers. And buyers aren't willing to do some of the crazy things they were doing 2 months ago. So in that sense, I believe that some of the, what do they call it? Competition.
Yeah, home buyer competition.
I think that's true. I think that buyers have now decided they're just not going to do some of the crazy things that they had to do to get a home 2 months ago. And with interest rates rising, they're right at the top of the threshold of what they can afford anyway. So I'm not seeing a stall in the market. We're still selling anything that we put on the market that's priced correctly. Let me clarify that. Like when you get when I get a client that says, "Oh, I want to list it at $100,000 more than you think it's worth because I want to get all I can get," look, that house is going to sit on the market. It's not just going to sell the first week that it goes on the market. So if it's priced correctly, if it's even sort of close to comparables, it's going to sell in the first 10 days.
10 days. Yeah. So you're not seeing days of market increase at all in the last, even though the buyer pool is dwindled a little.
No.
That's a big word, dwindled. That's probably not the right word. Yeah.
No, I'm not. So I'll give you an example. Last Thursday, put up a 1,100 square foot, 2-bedroom condo out in the Northwest. Probably not the prime property, right? Because it's a 2-bedroom. Like people start to shy away from houses when they're 2 bedrooms. It's also a condo, so it's attached to another unit. It is a single story. It's in a gated community. It's kind of nice. It's out Northwest. It was listed at $295, so that's well below our median sales price. Well, $450.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something that you would say, oh, get ready. We're going to have 35 offers.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to be a flurry of offers coming in. We got 4.
Really?
Yeah. Now we got 4. Of the 4, 3 were well above list price.
Okay.
One of them was at list. Ironically, we didn't get anything below list, which just says that it's still strong.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Because when it's not strong, we're getting offers that are below list price. So we only got 4 instead of 30. I was very thankful for that. I didn't have to sift through 30 offers.
Yeah, that's true. Right? Yeah.
But my client got a really good above list price offer that they're really happy with. So the market is still really, really strong. Competition, because buyers are falling out for different reasons, might be pretty accurate.
Well, so you mentioned the pricing and making sure that it's priced right, because a lot of the news today is that we've seen a reduction in sales price. And, now everybody, like I have some buyers are like, oh, this house just got price reduced. There's another price reduction. What's happening to the market? Do you think it's because you have some very eager sellers coming out there and just shotgunning this high number to see if they'll get it?
100%. There's
Okay.
here's the real challenge. Not only do we have sellers who are watching the news, right? The news won't report something really strongly until it's what they call a trend,
Yeah.
which means it has to happen 3 months in a row. Well, January, February, March, April, every month the median sales price in Vegas has gone up every single month. And so the news is starting to report that heavily. And so, yeah, sellers are going, oh, yeah, if I could sell at this price, I'm going to sell. But I think another challenge that we have is that real estate agents are super over aggressive with it. Like they're advising people to list it at $70,000 more than it should sell for.
Really?
Which is crazy to me because
Yeah.
that's not really professional. First of all, it's not really, but I think it's a combination of those two things. And yeah, we're seeing some price reductions. We're seeing mostly price reductions in higher end homes. I'm not seeing any price reductions in anything under like $350
Okay.
because the median sales price is $450.
Yeah.
So anything below $450 typically will sell relatively quick, unless again it's priced just a stupid number.
So with your condo, right? Let's say your seller there, if he'd come in and said, I want to actually list it at 320, even though you listed it at 290, you said?
$295.
295.
Yeah.
What would you?
My seller listed it at $295.
Sorry, your seller.
It's okay.
It was listed at
Yes.
295. But let's say the seller initially started that conversation saying, "Hey, I actually want to go to 320." How do you have that conversation around like this is really where the market is, or what do you do in that situation?
Well, for me and for what I try to teach agents and my team is that where you price a home is relative to one factor for me and one factor only, and that is what is their time frame? Mm-hmm. How long do they want to wait to sell the house? We had somebody who called and said, look, we have an opportunity to buy some land in Kansas. I don't know why
What's
they would
happening?
go to Kansas.
I don't see that on this list here
Yeah.
of popular.
By the way, Kansas is the number 5 state in the country for meat cows.
Oh,
There's more cows. Number 5.
Okay.
I've seen that.
So they're going to
statistic.
have cows to graze on the
I don't
land?
know. I don't know.
Okay, speculation.
But she said we need to sell, and I said, okay, great. How soon do you need to be there? She goes, tomorrow.
What?
And she's like, not really tomorrow. We had sold them this house a year ago. So they moved from the Northwest, Clare to Henderson just a year ago. They were loving the house, and then they got this opportunity in Kansas.
Wow.
So I was like, well, okay, what do you want? So my agent on my team is like trying to figure out what to list at. And I said, if you need to get out of here in the next 30 days, we got to be at or below market value in your neighborhood. And she was like, okay. They still made $100,000
Wow.
in a year, right?
Yeah.
So they were pretty happy to get out of town.
Yeah.
So I think it has to do with how long do you have to sell it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't ever need to sell it. Okay, well, that's a whole nother conversation, right? If you never need to sell it, I never need to list it because that doesn't even make sense to me. But if you have a reason for selling and how soon do you need to get where you're going, that will determine where you can price it in that because the market is going up. Mm-hmm. So eventually it's going to get to that price, right?
Yeah. So
The
they could
market's
either
not
wait
going
for
down.
it
Yeah,
or.
so they can wait for it and get what
Yeah.
they need to get out of it. Or I have another client right now who's the judge told them to have their house on the market by May 15th.
For divorce or
Yeah,
for
they're getting a divorce
okay.
and they can't agree on anything. And they really need to wait 6 months because what they owe on the house or what they can sell the house for and the condition of the house, they really need to wait like 6 months so they can each have enough money to go do something new. They just can't because the judge said no way. So
Wow.
it's circumstantial for me. How
Yeah.
much time do you have? When do you need to be where you're going?
Yeah.
And then we can price it accordingly.
Got it.
I'm all about getting you as much money as I can get you. I think that's great. And I have a certain amount of time to do that in, right? Like the condo.
Good timeline. Yeah.
The seller literally said, I want it under contract after the first weekend. She's an agent up in Denver. And she said, I want it under contract after the first weekend. Okay, well, we can't go up here
Yeah. And play the.
and play the let's hope somebody puts us in a ridiculous offer.
Yeah.
Let's put it at fair market value. One had just recently sold in the neighborhood for $285, and we're $295 fully furnished.
Plus, you got over ask price, anyways, right? Isn't
We
that what-
did,
Yeah.
yes. Substantially higher, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so now we have appraisal issues, but my client's goal was under contract after the first weekend.
Okay.
So that's why we priced it where we priced it.
Yeah. So, and speaking to appraisals, are you seeing that? And I guess maybe that's more on our side, but because we're starting to see our appraisers actually taking the days on market and the market appreciation factors into play when they're looking at it.
Yeah.
Which usually they used to be about 6 months behind, lagging indicators, but because we've been so like month over month, which we can go over the numbers, month over month, we've been almost $10,000 higher in
Sales price.
sales price, right?
Well, not the funny thing, the ironic thing is that the median sales price every month so far this year has gone up to whatever the median list price was the month before.
Ah.
So December of 2021
Yeah.
was the median list price, I believe, was $425, and we were at like $412.5, I think, on the median sales price. And so January's median sales price jumped up to $425, which matches the list price in December. Same thing happened in February. Same thing happened in March.
Wouldn't that be because of the days on market and how quick the inventory is turning, right?
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
because of how fast.
Whatever the average sales price is, whatever the average list price is what things are selling at.
We're going to get to. Do you want to go through our numbers
You wanna?
now? Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, I got to turn the computer back on.
Oh.
Fell asleep. Sorry.
Those Apple computers, whatever you want to call them. It
Call
really
'em
did
what you
fall
want.
asleep.
Call 'em what you want. So the April numbers are not quite out yet. This is still March. So March, our median sales price went up to $460.
460.
$460, yeah, from $450. So we jumped up $10,000 from February to March, and median list price is up at $485. So now the question is, will
Do we take a bet?
Will April's sales price be $485?
I actually have
close?
April's because we know the LVR president. So let me go ahead and see what that
Okay,
number.
what'd you come up with?
Okay, I'm thinking it's going to be 485.
You do?
Maybe.
Like, you know that, or
No,
you're
I
just,
don't
all right,
know.
you're messing with me.
I'm
All
just
right, all
messing.
right, that's cool. So, and then end of March, we had 0.6 months of inventory left. So what,
0.6.
yeah. So what that means is if every home on the market sold in the next 0.6 months, there'd be no homes for sale. So it's very, very, very low.
Got it.
Under 3 months of inventory is considered a seller's market. 3 to 6 months of inventory is considered a neutral market, and anything over 6 months would be more of a buyer side. We're not even close to neutral.
We're not. Yeah, I was
we're
gonna-
just so far in the seller.
We've been in the seller side for 2 years,
couple
3 years.
Yeah,
Would you say 19? We were
we were in a seller's market when COVID hit,
okay. So pre-COVID too.
and 18, 19. Yeah,
I gotcha. And even for the condo unit, so median sales price is 270.
270.
So your condo, even though what you said was 2-bedroom, 2-bath, right, was still over the median sales price.
Yeah.
Is that how that
Yeah.
would look? Okay.
Yep. And then median list price is 275 for March. So the question will be in April, will that median sales price jump up to the 275 because
condos.
that's what the list price was?
Got
And
it.
if that is, then what that says is that on average, homes are selling for what they're listed for.
Got it. Yeah, they're not coming to, yes. And they're selling within that 30-day time frame, right? Because it's
Yeah.
catching up to the following month. So you have to make sure to check out our podcast mid-May for the April numbers to see if Todd's right. Whether he is or not, we'll determine whether he comes back to the show.
The numbers will be out in 2 days. So
2 days?
yeah, usually
Well,
they
good.
come out on the 6th or the
Come back
7th.
next week. You'll be able to do that.
I'll send you a message.
So one of the things that we saw because of rates in the very beginning of the year was FOMO, the fear of missing out, right? So a lot of buyers jumped into the market thinking, okay, if it's true, rates are really going to go up, I better get in and take
Now.
advantage of that. Yeah. Something that I heard the other day from an agent was there's FOMO for sellers now, because sellers are worried that there's this like crash or something that's going to happen, correction, whatever you want to call it, where they now they're not going to be able to time the market right and get maximum dollar. So they're jumping in now, which is why some of the listings have gone up. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's why we're seeing inventory go up. We are
Yeah.
seeing more homes come on the market. So inventory is increasing, but each month that inventory is increased, we've sold it. Like typically when inventory increases, the number of new homes that come on the market each month, that's what kind of slows down pricing, right? It's the supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
The supply grows, the demand diminishes a little bit, and so that kind of settles prices. So far, every time we increase the number of homes that come available for sale, we sell them.
Yeah, we haven't.
So
we haven't pushed over the
tipped
1
over
month.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Well, I
haven't
think
tipped
so.
over yet.
So do you? It's not. You don't think it's because of the season? It's not seasonal as far as that. You just think it's.
No, it's a little early for seasonal for me. Like we're about a month early. I really start to see seasonal wise. I have noticed that we have a lot of more things go up for sale. We have a lot of new listings come on the market in May because kids get out of school the end of May.
Yeah. Yeah.
And parents want to move during the summer and have some freedom, and so they don't have to be worrying about moving their kids in school and that kind of stuff. So I would expect a big increase for the month of May in inventory if it's seasonal.
Okay. So we
but fear of missing out is definitely a factor
for
no question.
sellers too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because they're worried that, and I think that's something to talk about too. Is this, thought around, like I see it everywhere on YouTube. Are we hitting a housing crash? Are we going to be in a housing bubble, or are we in a bubble?
Is it a bubble now?
Is it a bubble now?
When's the bubble going to pop?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the cool part is you get to pick what side of the battle you want to be on. Like we don't know who's right or wrong, right?
Right,
We don't
yeah.
know for sure. There's
Correct.
no crystal balls.
Yeah.
I actually have a crystal ball. It's just at the shop getting fixed. So
you
soon
threw
as
it.
I get
You
it
threw it
back-
in 2008.
yeah.
Didn't work.
So I watch YouTube videos all day long of
Yeah.
people who are just, we're in a bubble, it's going to crash, sell, get rid of your, I don't know, are they just trying to create more fear and get people to try to sell their houses because they
More
need
inventory?
more business? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then if you talk to me, I'm like, are we going to see a settling? Yeah, we're probably going to see a settling. I think at some point in this year, we're going to see there be enough inventory on the market that we might see a settle in pricing. But we're not going to see any kind of decrease in pricing. I don't see a $485,000 home suddenly being worth $200,000 like it was back in 7, 8, and 9, right? That's what happened back then. There was 65% decrease in value in many neighborhoods in town. I'm an old guy. It's only happened one time in my life, and it was then. I lived through the S&L crisis of the 80s, okay? So it wasn't the only thing that really killed the S&L in the 80s was the interest rate going up to 12 and 13% was what killed the market. But yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But here's the best part. Even then, people bought and sold houses because they had to.
Yeah.
They had no choice.
Yeah.
So I don't see any kind of major correction. I don't see enough of a correction that someone's going to get financially hurt like we've seen back in 6, 7, and 8.
Well, so you were in the industry then. What do you see as the difference between then versus now, as far as fundamentals for the real estate? I know you're mentioning demand and all of that, but what would be different? Because we did skyrocket as far as the pricing, right?
Yeah,
Just like we did.
05.
Yeah.
The market was, 04, 05, agents were writing contracts on the hood of their car and carrying them back into the houses. And then there was a shortage of inventory. Interest rates were good, and the market was going a little bit crazy then, yeah. So what was really causing that problem, in my opinion, was that the government came out and said that if lenders don't find a way to lend money to Americans to buy homes, the government will.
Oh, and that door got wide open when
Right?
it came out.
Now, I'm not nothing against lenders.
No.
But
I didn't. Yeah, I
at
hear
that
you.
point, the banks that had the money to lend, and that's how they make their money, had to come up with lending programs
Yeah.
that would make it easy for people to buy homes. I sold a home in 2006, $1.2 million to a greeter at Walmart.
No.
Yeah, I swear to you.
Wow.
A greeter at Walmart. He stated income, interest only,
Yeah.
no money down, $1.2 million.
And the seller paid for the closing costs.
Seller
So
paid the
literally
closing
zero.
costs. They overpaid by $100,000 because they wanted the seller to put a pool in for them.
Oh my.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a little bit of loan fraud going on, which I was on the listing side, not the buy side. Let me clarify. I had
Lord,
no idea
Robert.
what was going on the buy side. FBI showed up at my office.
Really?
Yeah, about a year later. Wanted to know what I knew about the whole deal and how it all went down.
Wow.
But yeah, anyway, that was a fun one. But kind of
I've
drawing
never
it
heard of
back
those
to
things here in
reality is that lenders had to find a way to lend money. No income or stated income loans. Oh yeah, I make $300,000-$400,000 a year. No proof, right?
Yeah.
No bank statements, no pay stubs, no tax returns. Just whatever you say. Good. We'll let you get in with no money down, and it'll be interest only. Well, what happens over 4 or 5 years, and the market starts to fluctuate. Maybe people start seeing this panic, this decrease that people are worried about now, and you're living in a house that is still owe as much on it as you did 3 or 4 years ago when you bought it. Mm-hmm. All you've been doing is paying the interest on it. So essentially, you've been living in an apartment.
Oh, that's a good way to think of it.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't pay your house down, and you have nothing to lose by walking away because you didn't put down 10 or 20% when you bought it.
Yeah.
It was zero down. What do you got to lose? Zero, nothing. I had a place to live for 4 or 5 years. Great,
Yeah,
I'm
he
out
just
of here.
paid rent. They paid
So
rent.
people went and moved home. They went back to where they came from. They moved in with family, and that's, in my opinion, what caused the crash of 7, 8, 9. That's a small factor, of course, but the other factor was that banks still had the mentality that if you don't pay your payment, foreclosing on you, and we'll do it tomorrow. And they foreclosed on hundreds of thousands of people
Yeah. Quick.
really fast.
Yep.
And the Fed came in and said, I watched 4 or 5 banks actually get closed down during that time.
Yeah.
Because their income balance statement was upside down.
That's very true. Because if you look at what happened with the pandemic and the forbearances, that happened fast,
Yeah.
right? When they came in and they acted and said, okay, if you've lost your job because we've shut down the whole country, we're going to go ahead and give you some form of credit
gonna help you.
amnesty and as well, we're going to help you in multiple ways, the stimulus.
Instead
plus.
of just foreclose.
Yeah.
Foreclose.
I don't
So,
even.
I
I think the notices are just now starting to come through, right? The foreclosure stuff is as of the beginning of this year. The moratorium was done.
Yeah. October of last year, I think.
Okay,
Was it October?
but that's still. That was almost 2 years. Where it was probably like it was within 30 days when all that happened in 2008.
Oh, yeah.
The banks were
in
like,
08, they
no
were
payment,
just
done.
Done.
Yeah.
I mean, there was more. They sold more blue tape at Home Depot in 7 and 8 than they've had in years. So I
Yeah.
think the difference for today is, like, the fear is what happened in 7 and 8, right? That's the fear that's driving people to think the way they're thinking. The difference today is we don't have enough houses.
Yeah,
And people have equity in their houses. They're not
True.
just going to walk away, even if there's a little bit of stress. We don't have a shortage of inventory. I mean, we have a shortage of inventory, not an abundance of inventory. And the abundance of inventory that was created back then won't happen this time because
Yeah.
I have equity now.
that's true.
Not me personally.
You're not gonna
but
walk
the
away
seller
also.
is not just going to walk away from that 10% they put
Yeah.
down. So here's the statistic on that. Over 80% of the people in 5, 6, and 7 had zero equity in their home. More than 80% of the country had zero equity in their home, or less than 2 or 3%.
Then
Now we're over. It's flip flopped. More than 80% of the country has equity in their homes,
yeah,
and
that's
that alone is what will cause people to not walk away, because now they can sell it and make money instead of walk away and get nothing.
Well, and to your point, I mean, you have a lot of banks who have helped. I mean, even as they transition from the forbearance side, I've talked to a lot of clients today that they didn't get a refinance. They were worked through on a modification because of the situation that happened with them through the forbearance. So it wasn't like, yes, they went into the forbearance. The bank didn't say, okay, now that there's equity and, putting them in a position where they had to sell the house, even though they had equity, they worked through it with them. The bank did a modification, which doing a modification back in 2008 was like, I mean, I remember multiple people crying because there were convention centers opened up to have people get help from the banks to do these modifications for them with all their paperwork. I remember that, just
Standing in line with
standing in line. Yeah. And
carts
so,
full of paperwork to try to get them to help.
yeah. And the lending, I would agree, although I wasn't a big advocate of the stated income, no docs and stuff like that, because I grew up in the era of full docs. So I did FHA loans, the VA loans, and even conventional loans when you needed to have a pay stub and a W-2. That was like the way that I grew up. So it was foreign to me to do a stated income. When, like these investors would come out, I'm like, it just says you just put their employment on here. You don't even put how much they made.
They don't even verify the employment.
Right.
Right?
I'm
I mean,
like,
they just, you're employed. Oh, good. You have a job.
Yeah.
Can you fog a mirror? All right, you're in.
Seriously.
You move in on Saturday.
and then on top of that, like you said, it was like, oh, and we'll do an 80% plus we'll give you 20%. Same exact type of financing. You're like,
Yeah.
okay. You know, and of course that was the trend because if you didn't do it, some other lender was going to do it because that was just a loan out there.
Well, that was the government's, that was the lending industries, not Shelley's, the
Yeah.
lending industries solution to the demands the government made.
Yeah.
And that was figure out how to let Americans buy homes or we're going to do it for you.
Yeah.
And, they had to do something.
Well, and so even today, as we started to get some of these new nichier programs, like we have I like to call it a no doc. It's a debt service loan, but it's not for an owner occupied primary residence. It also requires money down, right? It
How
is
much?
20 to 25%, depending on credit
Yeah,
score.
so they're going to be when they take possession of that home, they're going to have 20 to 25% equity.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're not going to walk away. They're going to service that loan because they don't want to
Correct.
lose their 20 to 25% equity.
Correct. Yeah. So I think that, and I mean, interest only, I've just recently started to hear about interest only making a comeback, and that's really only in your super high, niche jumbo type program. It's not like your everyday 30-year, buying you're conforming traditional type programs.
So more in the jumbo market?
Yeah. And your
Really?
non-traditional.
Interest only in the jumbo
Yeah.
market?
At even a 40-year.
Wow.
But
When
you-
they moved cars from 5 years to 7 years, I was just like, that's crazy.
so
But
I
a mortgage
actually,
from 30 to 40 years?
I mean, in some of our modifications, that's been the thing that they've done to help them to afford the payment instead of
40 years is more than half of some people's
know.
lifespan.
I honestly.
And you don't even get to buy a house till you're 18.
True. Yes. But they'll refinance or sell because what's a lifetime value of a client? 5 to 7 years, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's actually up a little now, right?
Well, yeah,
Because of COVID.
because of me, I threw in that equation off. I still haven't officially moved out of my 16-year-old home, but I do think that is one thing that is definitely different. Is going to be the 40-year term is going to come out for our traditional because affordability is going to be. We're already there, right? We're already having a hard time.
Yes, we're having affordability issues.
Yes. Yeah.
What about the July 1st announcement? That's fantastic.
So that actually will be great to allow your credit to improve because I think that has definitely.
Well, I mean, I think about people that, have had like catastrophic medical problems.
Yeah.
And they can never buy a home because the medical is on their credit for their whole life.
Yeah.
And some of it you can't look past, right?
Correct. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, so Todd is referencing, I think it's July 1st, actually.
Yeah, July 1st.
They're going to do, I like to call it credit amnesty because it's ultimately releasing your credit from these medical collections. Now, it's not your charge-offs from your credit card bills. It is specifically 100% medical collections. But you're right. I mean,
Well, they're not gonna take away the collections.
No.
They're just no longer going to report it on the credit.
Correct.
So it doesn't. You don't get out of having the collection.
Correct.
It just doesn't affect your credit score anymore.
that is correct. Yeah, where it's almost like how a dispute. If you dispute an account today, it ultimately it keeps it on your credit, but it lifts it off your credit. So the factor for determining your credit score is not there. This will do that exact same thing. So we can see it, but it won't hold down the credit like it has for many years. Because to your point, I think they even extended the statute of limitations. It used to be 7 years. Now things can be on there for 10 years
Wow.
without it falling off. And that's if it's paid. Right. So it's paid, you still have to, it stays on there. And then if it's paid and then it happens to go to another collection company.
Which is the general practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Everybody's buying these.
On the fifth year, they sell it to somebody else that then
Correct.
reactivates it because they make a phone call to you and that's their proof that you agreed that you owed it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, come July, we're doing a lot right now to kind of educate our clients too, because most, our clients in the past who had tried to pre-qualify, credit was too low. This is one way to get that for your realtors as well that are out there listening. This is definitely something to dig back in your database, but also to start looking forward to with your clientele to see if this would help open up the buyer pool for you, because it will definitely do a great service to clients today who have those medical collections and it's holding down their credit.
Yeah, I think this is a good thing. I hope what doesn't happen is that they don't evaluate the algorithm and manipulate that So there's not enough of. I mean, I think it needs to have a big effect. I don't think it needs to have a small effect. And as long as they leave everything alone and just remove them, I think it can have that big effect. But I hope the credit bureaus don't do something that takes that advantage away.
Well, I think if they do it the way that they treat it like a dispute, it will ultimately react the same way. And it's still the same, right? It doesn't remove the trade line. It just lifts it off of the credit report. If that makes any sense, it's still there.
It doesn't affect the number anymore.
Correct.
Yeah, I hope
the
that
analytics.
They don't change the analytics to make something else have a bigger effect because now medical's been taken off.
Yeah. No, I don't.
You don't think?
I don't think so. I think they made that big of an announcement that I don't think it's going to.
I think it's huge for Americans. I think
I
it's
agree.
a big step for. I think it's something that needed to be addressed for years now, and I'm glad they're finally doing something about it.
Yeah.
Because let's just face it. A medical issue is not something you have control over.
I agree.
You get sick and you don't have $1 million to pay your doctor bill, and you get caught without insurance or something. You can't control that.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't affect your living conditions for the rest of your life.
I agree.
Just my opinion.
I agree on that. All right. So let's shift to. We talked about rentals. I do want to. So I had an agent, or we had a conversation around, what would happen if. And you mentioned this, if prices are up there so high, affordability becomes too difficult, and so just buyers just can't afford to buy. Now, I know the rental market is obviously on the other side. What if, and have you ever seen that in a market where it's been, such a high demand and basically it's been stagnant. Nobody decides to buy or sell, or you can't sell because nobody wants to buy the house. Has that ever happened? Is that something that could potentially ever happen?
Well, if we get to the point where sellers can't sell, it would be because there's too much inventory.
It wouldn't be because buyers just let's just say, there's some crazy stuff that's been happening with GameStop and, so much of social media can come out there and affect people's emotions and reactions. What if something came out and they said, okay, buyers today, this is the one way that you can go out and curb your ability. It'll take a while, but just stop making offers. And so let's just say that happens. What do you think would happen in that case?
It happened in 2007 and 2008.
Did it?
Yeah, people quit buying because the market was diving so fast. It was going down that people just quit buying, waiting for it to hit the bottom. Like you talked about earlier, sellers have that fear of missing out now because they want to make sure they catch it at the top of the market. Well, investors back then were waiting for the market to hit the bottom before they started buying stuff up. And when the general census was that it was at the bottom is when Blackstone was invented, right? And that's where Blackstone comes from. It was a conglomerate of people that put money together and started buying houses. And so that's what caused the market to start going back up. So yeah, we've been there before. But again, we'd have to have a overabundance of supply. We can't get there. We physically can't. If every single person, not every single, if 25% of homeowners walked away from their homes, which we've already talked about, that's probably not going to happen based on equity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's say they walked away and decided to go live in the desert. Where they got to go live somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? But let's just assume they got a motorhome and they're living in the desert. I don't know. Even at that point, I think there's still enough people out there that want to buy that I can't see the problem coming. I can't see enough supply hitting the market in a short enough period of time. Sisolak announced a month or so ago that we're 85,000 homes behind on affordable housing. Now, affordable housing in my mind is below the median sales price, right? Somewhere.
Yeah.
So is it below 300,000 probably?
Probably. Well, if you think about it, for condos being 290, right? You just pointed that out, the 290. So I would say under 300 today, but
we're 85,000 units short in the valley today.
Just for
affordable homes.
Yeah.
Affordable housing, not luxury, not standard homes that people, not the median price home.
Yeah.
Affordable, 85,000 short.
Well, and so to put that into perspective, so I used to manage the larger builders. So back in 2000, 2002,
2000?
in 00, 2000, 2002, there was a stretch. Actually, I think we hit it to close 10,000. That was one builder to close 10,000 homes in 1 year. And the 4 top builders at the time were shooting for that same goal. So imagine that 85,000 short 1 year at the height of the market when supply chain was like not an issue.
When you could buy wood and you could find labor and you could buy toilets and you can't buy that stuff right now.
No. Yeah.
So what was the number?
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
So if all 4 of those builders, the top builders, hit their goal, they'd have done 40,000.
Correct.
And we'd still be 45,000 units short.
Yeah. And here, wow.
Somebody help me understand how we can. I just can't see enough supply coming on the market in a short enough period of time to cause any kind of overcorrection. Now, settlement, we can talk about settlements, but the market's probably going to settle a little bit. And that's good.
You mean slowing down?
Yeah, it's just going to settle. It's going to flatten out. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But correction, like pricing going down, people deciding not to buy anymore because they're not sure what the market's going to do, I can't see it, and I'm happy for anyone to call me and have that conversation with me because I can't figure out how that's possible. And I listen to these guys just rant and rave on all these videos on how they're predicting the next downfall and they need to sell. I'm just like, this guy's out of his mind.
Well, we're part of that YouTube video circuit too, so we have a different message definitely to share. Yours will definitely be a different message, right? Which, speaking of which, I do want to shift that because talking about the great resignation, right, and getting into the real estate industry, you being a broker, managing broker of Green Valley office, what are you seeing from that standpoint? So agents getting into the market, agents who are in the market, stuff that's happening with respect to the market. What do you see as a broker, and how are you seeing these newbies come in? Not newbies, that's the wrong word, but new people coming in, quitting their jobs, like literally quitting their jobs, coming in to become realtors?
Yeah, so it's a great question because there's a lot happening there. I mean, that is the great resignation is people resigning from their jobs and looking for something else to do. And I think one thing that COVID taught most all of us is that being at home tied down to one place is not nice. It's not fun.
That's true.
It's not good.
Very true.
It's no fun, right?
Yeah.
And that's essentially what you have when you have a 8 to 5 where you clock in and clock out.
Some people don't see it like that, but yes, I do see that way.
I know some people look at it like they're getting away from their home life and they go do something they enjoy.
Yes.
And again, there's a lot of perspectives.
Yeah.
Here's what I think we're seeing. I call them gig workers. I know that's not necessarily the correct term. It's Todd's term. You can argue with me about it later. Right. But I think gig workers are people like tile layers who are really good at what they do. And they just go to multiple companies and go, look, I don't want to be 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, Saturday, and half a Sunday on your payroll. But I'm a good tile layer and I do good work. And if you need a little job done, sometimes it's been called piecework, right? I'll do it and you just pay me.
Yeah.
Like I think real estate kind of falls into that because we have a lot of freedom in this business. If you choose to have freedom in this business, you have a lot of freedom. You don't have a lot of money if you have freedom, but it's one or the other. You don't get both in this business. But I think we do see a lot of people coming into the real estate industry looking for flexibility, looking to get some of their time back because time is short. I have an interview Friday morning at 8 o'clock with the person who was in the real estate business, left the real estate business 2 or 3 years ago to go work in the loan business as a processor. But she's an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, sometimes works until 10 or 11, 12 o'clock at night, depending on what time of month and all that kind of stuff, right? Whether the loans have to get done. And her words to me were, I really like the contiguous pay in the processing because I'm an hourly employee and I know how much my check's going to be, but I really miss the freedom. So I want to talk about what we can do to get me back in the real estate business. So I think we're seeing a lot of that. But I think we're seeing people leave a lot of other industries as well to get into real estate. It's a great business. It really is.
Yeah.
It provides plenty of time, plenty of money, plenty of challenges or opportunities,
which is
whatever you want
exactly.
to look at.
Yeah, we had
challenges or opportunities, just so you know. If you didn't know that, think about that.
What about diving into it? What does that look like if I were somebody who's listening to our podcast today at their 8 to 5 job, really tired, frustrated because their stapler doesn't have any staples in it and is looking to make a move or transition? What would they look to do?
I don't even use staples. That's the best part.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you want to sit down, we have someone at our company, her name is Patty Kelly, who that's like her specialty is talking to people about the real estate industry. She's been in it for, I don't know, do you know how long she's been in the business?
I don't.
30, 40 years. I don't know.
I know she's
for a long time. She's been the president of the association.
Yeah.
She's in Washington, D.C. with the crew because she's on some of the national committees and super involved in real estate. She's a great lady, and she can sit down and talk to you about what it takes to get into the real estate industry and whether it would be a fit for you or not. I'm happy to do that. Any of the brokers at Signature will sit down and do that with you as well. But I think if you're really thinking about it, you should sit down with someone who's either in the business. And let me say this first. If you're going to sit down with someone who's in the business, make sure they're successful in the business. Don't just sit down with somebody who's had a license for a couple of weeks and go, yeah, it's great. I've been to the gym at 10 a.m. every day. It's perfect.
Lots of freedom.
Yeah, lots of freedom, but they haven't got paid yet. So there's that fine line in this business. I think you should go talk to people about it. Getting a license is fairly easy, to be quite honest. It's too easy in my opinion, but take a test, spend some hours studying and take a test. As long as you don't have any felonies, you can clear a background check. You're going to get in.
Might be tougher on the mortgage side. They actually look at the felonies and child support too. Do you guys look at that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you can't join the association if you've got child support problems.
Okay.
So yeah, they look at all that. What I'll also say with Signature, and maybe I shouldn't be talking specifically about Signature.
You're good. This is a sponsored Signature show, so
I'm new here. Sorry if I break any rules.
You're not coming back next week, but just kidding.
Or the week after that.
Just kidding.
We have a coaching program. So what I would also tell you, for getting new into the business, you need to be in some kind of coaching program.
Yeah, I agree.
You need to have somebody that you can rely on, some kind of mentorship program, coaching program that can kind of walk you through the steps of getting started.
That was, I actually participated in that coaching program this morning, it's always a joy to be on there. And you get, even though I'm thinking that I'm there to provide value to them, they actually gave me a lot. You too, right? Challenges equal opportunities, provide me with a lot. And when I got into the industry, that wasn't a thing. Coaching wasn't a thing. It was kind of like you have a branch manager, and if you have a problem, you go to them.
Yeah,
and that
same
was
in
really
real estate. You got a broker. If you got a problem, go to the broker.
But it understanding that takes you to a completely different level. I know wholeheartedly that had I been introduced to coaching even a couple years earlier, I would have accelerated my business, because it has in such a short period of time today.
Yeah, you're heavily coached now, right? I mean,
I am.
You've hired a couple of coaches.
I have, over the course of the years, but now, heavily invested in the coaching as well. But it's done a lot for me, I always tell my coach, listen, the moment that you don't start to pay, you don't start to earn your keep for me, it's time for me to move on. Yeah. But I do agree with you. Coaching is huge in any industry that you do, but definitely if you're starting, it's different than just being a broker, right? It's also having somebody who's going to help hold you accountable and to help you follow your dreams and goals. And
this business is about accountability, as is yours, right?
Yeah.
The lending business is no different. That's about accountability, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing gets done if you're not held accountable. Are you seeing an influx of people coming into your business?
We're not, and I don't know if it's because our we have everybody that's like, oh, I'm a realtor, I want to become a lender also. So that, I think, just because they're already in this industry.
Well, they want to do it in addition to, right?
Correct.
They're not switching careers.
Correct.
They just want to add it as another branch of their business.
Correct.
Which for me is crazy. I don't get that.
For me too. It's really hard actually for me to stomach that, because it's like, I believe you should be a master of one thing, right? And
I think it's a huge conflict of interest.
I agree too. Yeah.
I think it's just a conflict of interest that it's a lawsuit waiting to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's not like, I actually, so we're doing college tours with my daughter, and you can get a degree in real estate.
You have a college student? You don't look old enough.
Soon enough. Soon. Not yet. I do have a couple more years before she becomes a college student. But I thought it was weird. I was like, I didn't know that you can actually get a degree in real estate, because you definitely can't get a degree in mortgages. So it's not as prestigious, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's your opportunity. You
there
can
you go.
now create mortgage university, and you can give degrees for people who know how to do mortgages.
Challenges become opportunities. You heard it here. So if you're looking to become a loan officer or a realtor, make sure that you reach out to Todd or myself. So we're almost there. You know, the one thing that we do with our guests is ask two questions, and then
Wait, can I ask one first?
Yeah.
I'll finish with my 2, right? That's what you're going to do there.
Well, it's going to be 3, but okay, go ahead.
3's fine. Tell me about arms. Are you seeing any arm loans
So
coming?
these are
No, those are not arms. Those are
I know.
what do they call those?
I've been working out, Todd. Thank you.
No, what do they call that? They call that
Adjustable rate mortgages.
No, these
Guns.
Guns. Yeah, those are guns. Sorry.
Beta's like, well, this show just is
Yes,
running off its rails.
I
now.
know. I know. An arm is an adjustable rate mortgage,
It is.
which is, in my opinion, might have been one of the challenges back in 06 and 05 and 07.
Well, so
But they're coming back.
They did the arms, but they also did that with, so it was an interest only 5-1 arm, right? With no money down. So all of that together was a recipe for.
So I think that's the key. It was a 5-1, right? So
It
on
was.
the 5th year, your interest rate started going up.
Yeah, not only did it remove the interest only side of it, it also adjusted, right? And became a fully principal and interest payment plus
So your
an
mortgage
adjustment.
almost doubled.
Oh, yeah.
In many cases.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
do you see why people walked away from a home
Oh,
they didn't
yeah.
have any equity in?
Yeah.
Because they were going to start paying double for it.
Right. And they could get rent somewhere else, right?
Yeah, they could move in with mom and dad.
Totally.
But they are coming back.
They are. So
But without,
without the interest only.
yeah,
Yeah.
and without
And you have
no
to put money down.
Yeah, so 2 of the 3 factors
Correct.
are being done the right way, and maybe the arm might make sense now.
Yeah, I mean, we use that for my husband's first home. I mean, he bought it, or he used an interest only. It was a 5-1. Actually, it was a 5-1 arm. It was interest only at the time. But the goal for us was in that 5 years, we would pay off his car. We would take the difference in that savings, technically savings, and we would pay off his vehicle, which we did. We paid off his vehicle, and then it prepared us. We continued to put that same amount of money into our mortgage. And so it prepared us as we got into the adjustment. We were prepared for that adjustment. But if you're not strategic about it, it really could be a disservice to you, which is something that, just to get in because of a lower rate and payment today, there has to be a understanding what your long-term play is going to be on that. But it is there. If for sure they are making a comeback. VA, FHA, and then of course your conforming and your jumbo
Well, I think
loans.
they can be used I think they can be used correctly this time. I
Absolutely.
don't think that was a bad idea.
Agree.
I just think when you couple it with the other 2 factors of no money down and interest only, it caused a huge problem.
Yeah, it was definitely the recipe for some form of a little bit of the craziness that we had. All right, so my last 2 questions, and then we'll leave it for open dialogue on the last subject. But number 1, what was your car when you were growing up?
Volkswagen Baja. It was orange.
I feel like we've had this. Has he been on our show before?
So bad.
Oh, and it was orange. Okay, because I think we pulled that up. All right, and then Girl Scout cookies.
Do I eat them? Hell yeah.
What's your favorite?
Oh,
Yes or no?
I mean, do you see me? I eat any
What's
kind
your
of cookie.
favorite Girl Scout cookies? I don't even know how this
What are
became
my
a
choices?
thing.
What are my choices?
There's like the Thin Mints. There's Samoas, which is the coconut.
No coconut.
The peanut butter.
Yes, those
Tagalogs, I think that-
covered
yeah.
peanut butter.
Tagalongs.
That's
Yeah,
it right there.
Is that what it is?
Chocolate covered peanut butter ones. Yeah, that's it.
I got you.
And I'll eat Thin Mints as well.
Okay. And so the last thing, our parting words, which I thought season V would be one season we'd be taken to the Cup, but we're not even in the playoffs for Vegas Golden Knights, for those of you who don't know what season V is.
I knew what you were talking about.
So what are your thoughts on that as we wrap up this show?
Shelly gave me this cup right here too.
Usually I don't plan vacations this time of year because we're always worried about the playoffs. And I was telling my team, I'm like, this is our first year. We're going to have to figure out something to do with ourselves.
Yeah. So what was the question? I missed it.
So
Sorry.
what are your thoughts on missing the playoffs? And do you have another team that you're rooting for? Or are you just waiting for next season?
Yeah, so I'm sad that they missed the playoffs because they've been in it every year. Like this is the first year they've missed. It was inevitable. It was going to happen at some point, right? So it happened. I think we need to stop trading so many people and try to put a core together that we used to have, right? So I'm not rooting for anybody else. No. I've moved on. I'm a huge Ben, so
right in time.
I've moved on to baseball. We've got a good friend that is plays for the Phillies organization.
Oh.
And he was drafted a couple of years, first round. Good kid.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's going to be a starter in the major leagues soon. So we're, instead of going to the playoffs this year, which is very expensive if you don't know that, because you're a season ticket holder and so am I.
Yes.
And so we're going to use that money and we're going to go watch him play.
Oh, very cool.
Scranton,
Scranton,
Philadelphia. Yeah, beginning of June. So
nice.
It'll be fun.
That will be fun. And you are huge. Are you Braves? Is that?
Yeah, Braves.
Braves fan?
Is there anybody? There's no other teams but the Braves.
I've heard this team called Yankees. They were like in my head somewhere. New York Yankees, Padres. Okay, so
my wife and I have a real problem actually when it comes to baseball. Yeah, huge.
She's
there's you have alcoholics, right? They got to go to AA. We got to find something for baseball. We're at the Aviator. We're ticket season holders at the Aviators as well. So.
Oh, you're both though avid
we're
lovers.
at the Aviators game last week, watching the game, and I'm on my phone watching the Braves on video, and she's on her phone watching Bryson, the minor league player, on her phone. And we're talking about the games on the phone and watching this game. And I looked at my wife and I said, "We have a problem, and we have to figure this out because this is crazy."
I don't know. So that would be an opportunity to figure out, right? The challenge is
the opportunity is we're going to get on an airplane, go to Philly, and watch him live instead of on the video.
There you go. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Todd, for co-hosting with me today. If you need any information about real estate coaching, you're looking to jump in, broker of Green Valley, feel free to reach out to him. Or, of course, you talked about Patty Kelly. Thank you all.
Any broker at Signature.
Any broker.
Yeah, pretty much anybody in the leadership can talk to you about what the business looks like.
To jump in.
It's not a bad place to come talk.
And if you want to talk about the mortgage side of it too, I would love to help you out with that. But thank you guys all for tuning in. Make sure that you hit the subscribe and notification buttons for our next show. We'll see you on the next one.